Hello friends, this is Rashmi Singh. Welcome to my channel Unraveling Science. Let's have a moment of science please. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Today's topic is Heredity. Class 10, Chapter 8. In this video, we are going to learn about what is genetics, Mendel and his work on inheritance, monohybrid cross, dihybrid cross, and sex determination. Genetics. Genetics deal with the study of heredity and variation. Heredity is the transfer of characters from one generation to the next generation, whereas variation is the difference in the characters between the parent and the offspring. Genes. It is the functional unit of heredity. Every gene controls one or several particular characteristic features in living organism. Variations. They are of two types, somatic and gametic variations. Somatic variations takes place in the body cell and gametic variations takes place in the gametes or reproductive cells. Somatic variations are neither inherited nor transmitted. Gametic variations are inherited as well as transmitted. Somatic variations, also known as acquired traits, and gametic are known as inherited traits. Somatic variation example is boring of pinnae, cutting of tails in dogs. And in gametic variation example is human height, skin color, etc. Accumulation of variation during reproduction. Variation occur during reproduction whether organism multiplies sexually or asexually. So in case of asexual, variations are fewer, and in sexual reproduction variations are large. In asexual, variations occur due to small inaccuracy of DNA copying, and in sexual occurs due to crossing over or separations of chromosomes or mutation. Importance of variation. Depending upon the nature of variation, different individuals would have different kinds of advantage. Example, bacteria that can withstand heat will survive better in heat wave. Main advantage of variation to species that it increases the chances of its survival in changing environment. Like free ear lobes and attached ear lobes are two variants found in human population. Mendel and his work on inheritance. Grazer John Mendel is known as the father of genetics. He started his experiments on plant breeding and hybridization. He proposed three laws of inheritance in living organisms: law of dominance, law of segregation, and law of independent assortment. Plant selected by Mendel is Pisum sativum, that is garden pea. Mendel used number of contrasting characters for garden pea. As you can see in the picture, Mendel studied 7 pairs of contrasting characters in garden pea. Monohybrid cross. Mendel conducted a series of experiments in which he crossed the pollinated plant to study one character at a time. So a cross between two pea plants with one pair of contrasting character is known as monohybrid cross. So he take a homozygous tall pea plant and a homozygous dwarf pea plant, and the offsprings produced are heterozygous in F1 generation. So we can see a single copy of T is enough to make the plant tall, but both copies of small t are required to make the plant dwarf. As you can see in the picture, how the tall plant and the dwarf plant homozygous, they produce heterozygous hybrid plants or offsprings. So from here you can see that traits like capital T is dominant trait because it expresses themselves, while trait like small t which do not expresses themselves in the presence of dominant trait are called recessive traits. So when these hybrid offsprings, they are self-pollinated. So in the F2 generation, you can see the grid following following type of offsprings are produced. One is pure tall, one is pure dwarf, and one is hybrid tall. So the phenotypic ratio according to this grid is 3:1, where 3 are tall and 1 is dwarf. And the genotypic ratio is 1:2:1, means 1 pure tall, 2 hybrids, and 1 pure dwarf plant is produced. So phenotypic means physical appearance, that is either tall or short, whereas genotypic means their genetic makeup, as you can see here. Mendel's first law is law of dominance. It states that if the two alloy at locus differ, like in the case of hybrid tall, then one, the dominant alloy, that is capital T, determines the organism's appearance, and the other recessive, that is small t, has no noticeable effect on organism's appearance. Mendel's second law is law of segregation. As you can see in the picture, every individual possesses a pair of alloy for a particular trait. During gamete formation, the gamete receive only one trait from the allele. A particular trait can be a dominant or recessive in a particular generation. Dihybrid cross. A cross between two plants having two pairs of contrasting character is called dihybrid cross. So as you can see here, the parent generation has two contrasting characters, yellow and round seeds and green and wrinkled seeds. So when they are crossed, they have gametes for you can see the yellow and round and small green and wrinkled. So the offsprings produced in the F1 generations are the hybrid yellow and round seeds. You can see the genotype here. The offsprings, that is hybrid, which is hybrid with yellow and round seeds as the dominant character. In F2 generation, these hybrid offsprings have the gametes. As you can see in this picture, there are 4 types of gametes each parent has. So when we make a grid out of it, the self-pollination of these hybrid parents in the F2 generation will produce 9 yellow and round seeds, 3 round and green, 3 yellow and wrinkled, and 1 wrinkled and green seeds. So the phenotypic ratio here is 9:3:3:1. Conclusions. From this we conclude that yellow and round seeds are the dominant characters. The occurrence of new phenotypic combination shows that genes for round and yellow green seeds are inherited independently of each other, which takes us to our third law, that is law of independent assortment. It states that allele of different characters separate independently from each other during gamete formation. So in the above example, alleles of texture were sorted independently from those of the seed color. Sex determination. Determination of sex of an offspring depend on 2 factors, environmental and genetics. In some animals, the temperature at which the fertilized eggs are kept decides the gender of the species, like turtle. And in some animals, in human, gender is determined by the pair of chromosomes called sex chromosomes, like for female double X and for male X and Y. Sex hormones. In humans, there are 23 pairs of chromosomes, out of which 22 are autosomes or body cells, and the last pair of chromosomes that help in deciding the gender of the individual are called sex chromosomes. So we can write it as 22 plus double X female and 22 plus XY is the male. So as you can see in the picture, when the father and mother's sex cells are crossed, there are possibility of 50% of female and 50% of a male child to be born. So with this shows that half the children will be boys and half will be the girl, All the children will inherit an X chromosome from their mother, regardless whether they are a boy or girl. The sex of a children will be determined by what they inherit from the father and not from their mother. Thanks for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe.